My name is Lexi Jong. Here I like to talk about luxury makeup, and today we're going to take a look at the new WESTMAN Atelier iPods. And you know, I picked them up because there was a green shade and it actually reminds me a lot of the Natasha Denona Mini Retro. So when you open it up, you know, you saw that this was a slide through box. There's this little piece on top that says pouch and close. Got a pouch to keep your iPods in. And these are a little different than the other ones. So the packaging on these, you know, it's the same type of packaging and everything, but the original ones have like a matte packaging, whereas this is like a glossier ceramic. So let me show you the other ones too. So these are the original ones versus the new ones. So you can see you've got this gold one that is going to be present every set. It is a different color, and then we have this one here, which is silver, but it's, I don't know, it has like a yellowish tint to the silver. You know how sometimes silvers can be slightly different shades. This one's a little bit of a yellowish silver. And then instead of having something like this matte pink or something, we've got more of this like mauvey shade here, which is going to be a glossy finish. And let's take a look. So this is the pink shade Bizio. And we'll swatch these in a minute, but let's just look at all of them first. In the gold container, we have Frappe. And it looks really pretty, actually, like a really nice chocolate brown. And then we have Bonne Chance, which is the green shade. And as with the other iPods, you know, we've got this beautiful WESTMAN Atelier logo in here. It's a heart with the little WA. Sure, can you see the WA? That's not gonna last long on these. You know, I have to say I almost didn't get these because I honestly don't love these original ones. For me, the colors are, for the most part, warm. And they're not all warm, but, you know, they are warmer overall for the more pigmented shades. And I do have issues with creasing with these. However, you know, I got sucked in. So I'm hoping that I will like these better. I have found that even with these that I don't love, I do still use them sometimes. And usually when I use them, it's for like a very light natural look, and I'll use my finger to apply it. But we are gonna look at the iPods today with a brush and with finger application, so you can kind of see the difference. And let's go ahead, we're gonna do a get ready with me, and then we'll swatch everything at the end. All right, so since we're going to do a full get ready with me, I figure we'll start off with one of the lit up highlighting sticks. All I have on is skincare and sunscreen. Not putting a primer or anything on today. We're going to use this Nectar just here on the cheeks. And this is kind of like a, barely see it, but it's a little bit peachy. Let's see if I can build that up a little bit. This is a highlighter. You can use this on top or underneath, but I usually like to use this product underneath because it can be a little sticky. Okay, and I'm taking the WESTMAN Atelier. This is the blender brush. I'm just gonna kind of blend that into my cheeks a little bit. Just like that. And then we're going to add a little bit of the contour stick in Biscuit as well. So that's this one. Let's go ahead and swatch that. So this is the shade here. And it actually works really well on my skin. But again, I like to use it underneath. All right, so I wiped off the brush, and now we're gonna go in with the WESTMAN Atelier foundation stick. I use shade N. I'm gonna take a little bit on my finger and just kind of pat that under the eyes for concealer. So I'm actually applying the product, you know, I get it on my middle finger and then apply a little bit, but I'm tapping it in with my ring finger because I don't have excess product on there. And as we all know, that's the finger that's the most gentle. All right, so I'm just gonna put some of this on, and You can use your fingers. You could do this like spot treatment, but I'm gonna put this all over. My face is a little bit red right now because I just, I've been outside. So, all right, so we're gonna leave this. This is it for foundation. Let's move into the eye pods. All right, so we're gonna start off with the shade Frappe, and I'm using the Westman Atelier eye brush number 2, which is, you can see it's kind of like a stippling eye brush. And I'm just gonna get a little product on here. And I'm gonna start this in the outer corner here. And I'm gonna very softly move it into the crease. Then we're going to take Bonne Chance, and we're using the eyeshadow 1, which you can see is more of a paddle shape, and it's got this great like angle, this arrowhead shape, which, you know, actually is fantastic. I really love this brush a lot because it's great to get in. You can use the angle on the side for eyeliner. I just think it works really well. So it's actually, not that I really travel anymore, but it's a brush that I would use for traveling. All right, so that is a light layer of the green. We're gonna add a little bit more, but because of this formula on me with the creasing, I have found that the lighter, thinner formulas or layers work better. So building it up, I have more issues with creasing than I do if I just leave a thin layer, which, you know, makes sense. Got product accumulation. So this is the green. I'm going to wipe off the brush and we're going to add the pink. All right, so now we're going to go into the pink, which is Bisou. And one of the great things about this angle is you can really get into this corner, the inner corner, very nicely. So we're going to work in there and then blend it out into the green. All right, so there's that. And I think we'll go ahead and I'm gonna wipe off this brush again. I'm gonna use the angle here on the side into Frappe, and we're gonna use that for a little eyeliner on the upper lash line here. So let's go ahead and apply that. All right, and that's gonna be it. I'm just gonna take what's left on here and run it on the lower lash line. There's not much. All right, so that is the brush application. And then on this side, we're gonna go ahead and do the finger application. So I'm gonna try to do the same thing and going in with Frappe and just a tiny bit on my finger here. And I'm just gonna kind of lightly put this in. It's harder to get in the crease with my finger for me. You can see that looks very messy. All right, and let's move in with the green. Get a little bit more right there. All right, so there's the green with the finger. You can already see using the finger application, you can get the pigment a little bit stronger, which is typical of most shadows. It has sort of like a cream putty texture to it. Okay, and there's the pink. So we've got the brush versus finger application. And for me, because I am always, you know, a little messy with my fingers, I do like to take the brush. So this is the eyeshadow 2 I used on the first one. I'm just gonna kind of go in that crease a little bit, blend that a little bit nicer. But we are going to let the color stand. I'm gonna add the eyeliner though with the eyeshadow 1 brush, just like I did to the other eye. All right, so here it is. I'd love to know which application you think looks better, finger versus the brushes. But personally, I prefer the brush application because I feel like when you pat it on with the fingers, you know, here, let's even just add a little bit more of this pink here. I just feel like it just, you don't see as much, like for example, in the pink, you don't see as much of that pearly glow, you know, it kind of gets stamped out a little bit. So I personally prefer the brush application, but I'd love to know what you guys think. So I'll add mascara in a second, but let's finish up with some blush and some highlight. You can see I do have a little bit of the nectar kind of peeking through. You don't see much of the color, but you can see the highlight, and the peachy shade kind of blends in with the skin tone a little bit. So it looks a little bit more natural than say the lid up stick in Lit, which is like bluish. All right, so we're gonna take the shade Bichette. This is one of the newer shades that came out not that long ago. I think it was maybe spring or winter. And I'm gonna use the same foundation brush, but I'm gonna pinch these bristles a little bit. And I do have the baby blender as well, which you can use for cheek blush, and it actually works really well for that. But I really like being able to use just one brush when possible. So that's Bichette. And when you rub it out, you can see it's really a great shade for fall. You know, you've got kind of this like, it's like more of a brick red. Sorry, it's my mirror. And yeah, I think it looks really great for fall. So it's a shade I really didn't use a lot yet, because when it came out, I think we were moving into spring or we were already in spring. I don't remember when I finally got it. But now that fall weather has come, I think I will definitely be using this more, because I think it's just like the perfect shade to go with a lot of these fall tones. And I'm gonna go into the Peau de Pêche. This is the super loaded tinted highlight. I'm just gonna get a little bit on the brush. And again, I'm gonna pinch this, and I'm just going slightly higher than I did with the blush, but just gonna kind of stamp that on top. And you know, you can put on this color, you can use it just as blush, but I'm just using a tiny bit more for like an accent and warmth. And that's gonna be it for that. Just so you can see this color, let me just swatch this for you. This is a really beautiful color. Look at that. So there are 3 of these super loaded tinted highlighters. There's a gold one, which I don't have, like Soleil, I think it is, Peau de Soleil maybe. And then there's a Peau de Rosé, which I also really like. But the Peau de Pêche and the Peau de Soleil, I think, are phenomenal. And then for lips, we're gonna actually use this is one of the liquid lip balms. This is in the shade Garçon. And it's really more like a lip gloss. You can see that it's a light shade. It's not gonna have like a ton of pigment. Some shades have more color than others. But what I mean is it's a pretty sheer color. And I think this one is Garçon, yeah. And you can see it's just a really pretty, like a little bit of a plummy shade. And I have a couple of these. I actually have a new one also. And they do have a scent, just so you know. But this is the color here. So you can see that it's like a plummy shade with some nude tones to it. A little bit of mauve as well. It's really pretty. So I like it a lot. I'm gonna finish my eyebrows and lashes, and I'll see you in a second, and we'll do some swatches and comparisons. All right, so let's talk a little bit about these Rendez Vous iPods and iPods in general. These are all stackable magnetic containers. You can obviously mix and match any of these. These each have 0.03 ounces or 0.8 grams for a total net weight of 2.4 grams. So we're gonna go ahead and swatch these, but real quickly, let me just show you how these open and close. They're a twist off, And when you keep turning, it does sort of snap in. That one I just showed you doesn't snap in quite as securely. It's secure, it's not an issue, but it doesn't make that clicking sound. Like, listen to this. So, I mean, in general, the iPods, if you want to be sure that they're closed, you know, you want to kind of make sure you twist it all the way. And once you're done with these, you know, you can use these containers. I've seen people use these for like, you know, when you're done, you take out the eyeshadow pan and you can use them to like store like jewelry and stuff in for traveling and things. I think it's a really great idea. I love the actual little containers. Let's go ahead and swatch these, but let me just show you. You can see how like soft they are. You know, once you're using these, you're really like digging in there. So this imprint isn't going to last long. And again, this is the shade Bisou. And you can see that it is going to be like a warm peachy pink. All right, for Bonne Chance, this is our green shade here. And just, there you go. So this is going to be like kind of an army green, and you can see when you actually kind of feather this out that it doesn't really have like a deep gray or black or brown base or anything like that, but there is some gray mixed into this green. So just in general, I mean, it's a grayer toned green, if that makes sense. And then we have Frappe, and this is going to be a nice deep brown. And if you are somebody who likes to keep your makeup looking as pristine as long as possible, if you use a brush, you're not going to dig in as quickly, just a heads up, but you will still dig in. So this is a really pretty like cooler tone cocoa brown. I'm going to show you the other iPod so you can see the difference, especially with the brown shade. So let's start off with the Le Jour. And we have the shade Chocolat. And this is actually one of my favorite shades from WESTMAN Atelier, but you can see that it's going to be warmer in tone than Frappe. And I mean, look, you can see a little bit of those golden tones to it. Then we have Tabac, which I think is, you know, when I got it, I was hoping it was more of a taupe, but you can see that it's really much more of a beigey warm shade. So you've got like a little bit of like rusty orangey tones to it and some like yellow gold. And then we have Neige, which is this really pretty white shade. Let me see if I can get a little more up. So there's Neige. And for me, because these colors are warm, I personally like Chocolat and Neige, and I like to mix those two together. You can use Neige as like a topper and everything as well because it is so light and a little bit sheer. Now we also have the Les Nuits, and this one here is going to be your black shade. Let's get a little bit more here. And you can see, you can totally do like a smoky eye with this because you can buff this out to like a gray shade. You know, it really does fade out fairly well. Then we have Champagne, which is actually going to be like a light sparkly shade, but it's got pink tones to it. So it's similar to Neige, but pink. So can you see the pink in there? Let's see if I can get a little bit more. So there's like a pink hue to that one. And then last up we have Vin Rouge. And this is a burgundy shade. And when I got these ones originally, I was expecting it to be cooler in tone, but you can see that it's really more of a warm toned brown with a little bit of burgundy in it. So it's not cool in tone. It actually looks much cooler in tone in the pod than it does in person. So it's really much more of like a rusty brown in my opinion. So these are all of the iPods from WESTMAN Atelier, and you can see that this new offering is much cooler. You've got this warmer peachy shade, but both the Bonne Chance and Frappe are going to be cooler in tone. So I personally really like the tones, the colors in this new set a lot. Now, I do think that it's similar to the Natasha Denona Mini Retros color story. I mean, no, we don't have like a frappe shade, but let's take a look at some of these pinks. So we're gonna look at the first and last shade here. And let's put those right here so you can kind of see the difference. Obviously, Natasha Denona is gonna be much more intense, but it is fairly similar in tone to this shade here, Galaxia, which is also in the Star palette from Natasha Denona. And then let's look at these two shades here. So this is Industrial and 60s. All right, so it's Industrial, 60s, and I do think 60s is going to be very similar to the green. There's a little bit more brown in the Natasha Denona one. It's almost if you mix a little bit of frappe in with it, but it's close. So I do think the color story itself is pretty similar. So overall, let me just go over the items we used today. I'll give you guys my thoughts on those. And starting off, we have the Lit Up Highlight Stick in Nectar. And I like this one. The Lit Up Highlight Sticks, I think, are nice products, but they're not loves because I do think that they are sticky on top. So I do use them underneath, and I think they work very nicely underneath the foundation to give just like a hint of glow. But, you know, it's still, if I had to pick a highlighter from Westman Atelier, it would be these super loaded tinted highlighters. Those are phenomenal. They're one of my favorite products, especially from this line. The Contour Stick and Biscuit, I absolutely love it. They do have a deeper shade available. They only have 2 shades. I think the formula is great. If I'm careful, I can use this on top, but I really like the effect I get from using it underneath. I use this product actually quite a bit, so I think it's one of Westman Atelier's best products. The cream blushes, I love the Westman Atelier blush sticks. The shade Bichette, as I mentioned, is kind of like a brick red. I think it's great for fall. I really like it. And I also really like these lip glosses or liquid lip balms. I think they are really comfortable. They remind me texturally of the Sisley lip glosses, which are my favorite. And, you know, I personally really like them. They do have like a fruity fragrance to them. So if you don't like that, you know, I wouldn't get it. It's not very strong per se, but you can smell it when you are applying it. And as I mentioned, the super loaded tinted highlighter I love. And I really love the Westman Atelier foundation stick. Again, I use shade N for neutral. Just put that down here. And this is my favorite foundation stick. So I typically don't like foundation sticks because I do find that a lot of times my skin will produce more oil. They'll get like greasy looking by the end of the day. But the Westman Atelier stick is one that I use a lot. And I use this foundation a lot during the summer, the warmer months. It's light, it's natural, it gives me some coverage. And I think it's really, really a nice foundation. So as for the iPods, as I mentioned, the older ones, I don't love them. You know, the formula itself, I can get creasing with it, but a lot of the reason I don't like the older ones are the tones and the colors. You know, they're a little bit misleading from what you see. They're warmer in tone, so I don't love those. However, I really like this new set of colors. The cooler tones I think is great. I like how there's, you know, it's not completely cool. You've got this warmer peachy shade and so forth. You know, I think you can get a lot of nice looks with it. I do still have creasing with this. So creasing is still an issue. This formula, you know, it's an okay formula to me. It's not a must have, but if you have the other ones and you love that formula, I think this color story is even better. So I personally really love the color story. And let me just show you after half an hour, this is how the creasing situation is. So I do get creasing in there. You can take a finger and just kind of pat it out. But typically when I use these, I'm using them when it doesn't bother me. You know, I use these more for like a light everyday natural look versus, you know, glamming it up because they do crease on me. And if I'm going more glam, I prefer something that doesn't crease. So personal preference there, but I have to say that this new color story is fantastic. You know, the Natasha Denona Mini Retro palette is, in my opinion, a very similar color story. So, you know, that's one of my favorites. And I think these WESTMAN Atelier iPods, I'm happy I picked these up because these are ones that I'm going to use on those days when I really don't feel like putting on makeup and I just need a little something. It's something I'm going to be reaching for a lot, I think. Now, as for brush application versus finger application, you know, I can see myself using a finger for just like one color and plopping that all over my lid when I'm kind of in a hurry. That's what I do with the other ones right now. I usually use like Chocolat and Neige. Those are the two that I usually use out of all of the other ones. And so this, I could see using any of the 3 shades from this new Rendez Vous set with a finger, but I'll probably only use it, you know, like 1 or 2 shades. If I'm trying to do like a crease color and stuff, personally, I prefer the brush application. And I think the brush application itself just looks a little bit nicer because you can see some of the pearly aspects to the colors, more so with the brush than with the finger, in my opinion. So that's kind of where I am on that. And if you're curious about the brushes, I do have some videos of these brushes and I will leave those linked down below in the description box in case you're interested in those. And thank you so much for tuning in. So I'd love to know what you guys think about the iPods and this color story in general. Are you interested in these? And thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was helpful. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up, consider subscribing and sharing this video with your friends, and I will see you very soon. So have a great day and stay safe and healthy.